Hello, Donna Downey fans. How are you today? DeeDee here with an Artist Gang video. I am starting with some tags that have been cut from some watercolor paper, and I have a piece of chipboard here from Wow Studio. It's called the Distressed Harlequin Background, and I'm going to use it to add some texture to my tags today. And because it's chipboard, it adds super heavy duty dimension and texture. It's really awesome. I love it. I love it so much. So I'm just going to use some matte medium to keep keep the chipboard glued down. It is pretty important that you use a nice heavy gel that's going to have time to kind of soak into the chipboard and then also soak into the paper. And it creates a really great bond that way. Now, you could use a gloss gel or something like that as well. Just keep in mind that it would be glossy, and different mediums are going to react differently to that. So yeah, keep that in mind. I prefer to kind of lean towards matte mediums and fluid matte mediums and things like that for my own work. So I let that dry, and then I came back, and now I've got some Liquitex gesso, and I'm going to fast forward through this fairly quickly because I actually go over the tag chipboard combo 3 times with gesso, and having a sturdy and white base, like the better your base is prepared, then the better your project is going to be. So using the right products, making sure that things are secure, and just having a good base to start with is really important. So I used the matte medium to glue my chipboard down, and I gave it accurate time to dry too. I let it sit for maybe an hour. I mean, you don't have to let it sit that long, but I did. And then now the gesso part, I'm going to cover the whole ensemble in gesso 3 times, and it's really going to cover up the chipboard, the sort of craft color, gray color that's peeking through the chipboard, and then also around the edges, it's just going to help seal the chipboard to the paper that much more, kind of in conjunction with the matte medium that I used earlier. So I do go over it 3 times and let it dry in between the layers, or kind of help it along with a heat gun. And also, this chipboard is laser cut, and so a little bit of ash comes up from the edges sometimes, so then the gesso was a little bit more gray. So also by going over it 3 times, I'm getting a really nice stark white background, which I love. I really love white space. It's very important to me. So to help that, I like to start with very stark white background generally. I'm just using a wash brush, by the way, to apply that. And I'm also making sure that I'm kind of getting the gesso out of the negative spaces in between the diamonds, so that I don't have kind of big fluffy areas there. And then I let that dry, and now I'm back with some golden high flow acrylics. I just got these a couple weeks ago, and now I can't stop using them. I love them. I have a little cup on the side that I'm putting my high flows into. They are super high pigmented, and so I want to add a little bit more water to them to help kind of feather out the color around the edges. And I'm using the quinacridone magenta. I better check the red before I say that, and I believe I'll pull out the ultramarine blue as well. And I'm keeping this. Oh, and I should also say I've been working a lot harder on growing as an artist, and I always say to myself, oh, I wish I was a bit more free, or I wish my stuff was a bit more abstract, or I wish this, I wish that, and I wish I used different colors. And the only way to do that, to be those things that I want to be, is to make myself do them. So I was very selective on these colors in the opposite way that I normally would be. So I told myself no neutrals. I tend to do things in browns and blacks and whites, and so I said step away from that, get out the colors, and have fun. So I did. I got out these 3 new high flow acrylics that I got. I bought kind of like a cool little set, and Donna has lots of really great high flow. I shouldn't, I believe that Donna has lots of high flow acrylics in her shop. If she does, I'll link to them below, and you can check that out in the list of supplies too. And yeah, so I'm playing with some colors, and I'm using a round brush to feather out the edges so that I don't have kind of harsh lines in my color. And I used that quinacridone magenta. There's the blue, and I'll double check the color on that too. I do believe it's the ultramarine, but when I first put it down, I was going to use it as blue and work it into the red, but I really wasn't happy with the way the blue looked. So then I just mixed it in with the red, and I have red and blue, make my own version of sort of a kind of almost like mauve-y or maroony kind of purple there. It's kind of cool, or like a merlot maybe would be a good way to say it. And then I'm just going back and forth, playing with the colors and highlighting the texture that I achieved in the background with the chipboard. And it's really cool because the paint pools in the negative spaces and creates a really like dark shadow. It's very cool. And I love the way that all these colors play together. And the paint, it is high flow acrylic paint, and it's a little bit thicker than an acrylic ink, but it's so thin that you can really move it around and play with it and get some cool watercolory effect too, as you get effects too, sorry about that, you can see happening here. So, and that's by adding more water to the paint than that is already in it. So yeah, it's fun. And I gave that accurate, appropriate time to dry. I was gonna say accurate, but and it doesn't take that long. So it just takes a couple minutes if you let the paint sit there, or if you get out your heat gun, then you can dry it almost right away. And I have the Liquitex gesso again with a palette knife, and I'm scraping it across the chipboard, the super thick chipboard dimension and texture that we have. And so it really just highlights that Harlequin design there, and it's very cool, and I really like it. I love scraping gesso. I think that's one of the coolest things I've ever picked up from another artist. By the way, Donna, totally Donna Downey, learned that from her. If you guys haven't taken her Inspiration Wednesday classes, please do that. It's all of her classes are amazing, but it's so stinking affordable and you learn so much. She's really made me a better artist for sure. So thank you, Donna, for that little plug. And this, I'm using one of Donna's stencils here, and you'll kind of, I tried a couple ways. My intention at first was to get these cool little kind of splotchy spots that are in the middle of this flower, and I wanted them to just be another piece, another layer in my mixed media tag goodness, but it wasn't really working out. So the gesso, the Liquitex gesso is fairly thin, and that may have been part of the problem, but it was just looking like the paint kept seeping under the stencil, and also I was trying to work next to the chipboard, and so the stencil wasn't completely flat against the background, and that's a problem. Yeah, so I tried with my fingers twice, and then I even tried with a palette knife, and it wasn't working. But then I got a brilliant idea. With the paint that was left over on the stencil, I used the stencil as a stamp. So I still got similar to the effect, it's just opposite. So happy with that, good to go. And you can see a close-up of that too at the beginning of the video and then back at the end and in the blog post. So if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely hop over to the blog, by the way. Now I have just a number 2 pencil, and you could use a drawing pencil, and you could use a harder pencil or a softer pencil. And I'm just using number 2 because it's right in the middle, and I'm using it to do some mark making, kind of doodly edges and things around the tag. And I've kind of picked up, if you hold the pencil, if you want it to be more whimsical and loose and free, which I said earlier in the video I'm working towards, hold the pencil by the eraser, and then you have less control over it and you get some kind of fun things happening. This is a stamp from Donna, and I never really have the product names in mind. I should probably work a little bit harder on that. Sorry about that. But you can always check the supply list for those exact names. And this says, "I am not who I was yesterday," which I felt was very appropriate for this tag duo, as I'm kind of trying to get out of my box and stretch myself artistically. And then I have some masking tape. This is 1/4" masking tape that I picked up at Donna Downey Studios, and I love it. So it never occurred to me how much I love masking tape until I had it in a whole bunch of sizes. So I have 1/4" and 1/2" and 1/8", and I think I even have like almost a 2" one, maybe it's 1.5". So I always liked masking tape before, but now that I have it in different sizes, I love it. So I just used it as a little bit of an embellishment, just to kind of add some texture and depth to the tags. And it looks great, and also it's a good neutral balance to the white space and the color that I already have going on. And this is a Stabilo Marxall pencil in the black color. It does come in a couple other colors. There's like a red and a graphite, and I'm not sure, maybe a blue or something, but I really love the black one, and it adds some really great grunginess. It's a super easy way to add just a little bit more value. So you have low highs and lows, or lights and darks, and this adds a bit more darkness, sort of grungy kind of mid-tone value almost. So I did it around the edge of the tag where there wasn't chipboard, and then I wasn't really happy with it. So kind of funny. I'll do both of them, and then I'll wipe it off. But in that process, it kind of got into the grooves of the tape that I had just put around the edge, and it stained that outside edge of the tag a little bit, and I love it. So it's really great because it goes a long ways, the pencil, and then even if you wipe it off, then you still have some really great techniques. So I also got out this stamp set by Donna. It has this giant flower that's really gorgeous. The flower won't fit on my tag, but I thought I would utilize the spots that are up at the top of the flower, and you can always do that, definitely. You never have to use a stamp just like it is if you don't want to. And I masked off part of the stamp so that I didn't get any ink like leftover or extra on the tag. And then I liked those spots in the top, so I got out my carbon black high flow acrylic, added a little bit of water to it, and splattered some more black. And that's it. The tag duo is done. So thanks so much for joining me here today. Be sure to subscribe to the Artist Gang YouTube. You can find Donna's YouTube, and you can find my YouTube also. So search DeeDee Catron, and I have some fun things coming up for the winter and then all through next year. And thanks so much for joining me. See you next time.